during COVID, the Federal Reserve was pumping money into the economy, just money printer go burr, as the meme goes. And that created a high period of inflation post-COVID, right? Especially in 2021 and 2022, you saw prices starting to rise to seriously alarming rates. And the Federal Reserve made the decision to rein it in a little bit, stop printing as much money, which increases the interest rate. Coincidentally, when the interest rates go up, the value of bonds goes down.
It's literally the most basic principle of economics. Yeah. It's literally like demand.
Yeah. So why SVB thought that that investing all of that money,
moral hazard.
Yeah.
They literally made poor financial decisions and they paid the price. In my opinion is let bad banks fail. Do not reward poor decision making, but we'll get into that because why it's such a big deal is the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. See, I got
Good job.
Thank you. So the FDIC, they only insure up to $250,000 in an account at any given bank. So any company that had more than $250,000 was basically in limbo. They could have all failed. So just to read off the list, Roku had about $500 million.
Not Roku. My grandma loves Roku.
Roku had $487 million in it, which was 26% of its cash and equivalents. So without that chunk, they would have probably suffered greatly. In a regulatory filing, Roku claimed that its deposits with SVB were largely uninsured, and it sent its shares down by 10%. So Roku suffered from this. Several other tech companies suffered from this. So like I said, Bill.com, so Etsy, Roblox, even BuzzFeed. And BuzzFeed is already not doing so swell lately. And so a lot of these companies were caught in the crossfire. Yikes. Even Peter Thiel from PayPal.
I saw that.
He had $50 million there.
Peter Thiel, are you doing okay?
I hope he's okay now. Because here's what happened. So the federal regulators, the Federal Reserve, bails them out. And what's funny is that it was a matter of hours actually, on that following Sunday. So it's Friday, the run of the bank happens. Saturday, everyone's panicking. We're waiting for Monday because people are concerned that there's going to be runs on other banks. Because what typically happens is that there's a
one bank fails, and then everyone starts freaking out because, a bank just fell, and so we need to pull our money out.
Don't think about the fact that only $250,000 is insured until a bank falls.
Right.
So that reminded the American public. So what was happening on Sunday? That Sunday, I believe it was March 12th at that point, people were really concerned about runs on other banks. And there were a couple. But to prevent widespread contagion, and this is a couple hours after United States Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, hey, we learned our lesson from 2008. We're not going to bail them out.
I don't believe her.
4 hours later, the Federal Reserve bailed them out. So
of course they did.
It was insane that she even made that statement before they even had decided.
And Olivia, every time this happens, people beg the federal government to bail those banks out because they think they're bailing out the people that were invested in that bank. But it's important to let these banks fail so that this doesn't happen in the future.
Yeah.
Because the only reason SVB was comfortable making this risky investment was because there's all of this cushion, There would at least be some accountability if they had their money tied up in a private investment, but it was tied up in the government. And then so I believe that the government not only did not learn their lesson from 2008, but felt some type of responsibility because it was treasury bonds that were sold off and lost $2 billion. Yeah.
But this is a great quote. It's a French business school called INSEAD. To get better returns on its investments, SVB put its assets in a long-dated government bond, which were supposed to be risk-free. Its liabilities were demand deposits that startups could withdraw at any time. Who uses SVB was a lot of startups, right? Tech ventures. As the Federal Reserve System aggressively raised rates to fight inflation, the long-duration assets lost significant value, whereas the liabilities hardly budged. So this is exactly the problem that is in moral hazard, is you don't know about the Federal Reserve inflation rates. Of course, nobody could have really predicted the pandemic happening.
No.
But once it started to happen, you could certainly predict that the Federal Reserve was going to use that opportunity to raise inflation rates because of all the lockdowns and because of all the economic damage that the lockdowns and the pandemic caused. So I feel like if they were smart, they would have pulled it out as soon as they caught wind of that, but clearly they didn't. This is a great example. I believe it was actually Dan Sanchez that told me this, but to put it in simple terms, if you give monkeys a banana for every monkey they kill, you can't really be mad when the monkeys all kill each other. Like, you can blame them for killing each other for a bad incentive, but you blame the government in this situation for giving them that incentive to do a risky activity, and that's exactly what happened.